Many Laker fans want the Lakers to make a trade this summer, but to make that happen, they obviously have to have a trade partner or trade partners. And while the popular trade partners have been teams like the Dallas Mavericks, a team with Daniel Gafford, and many fans want to reunite him with Luka Doncic, not sure I find that very likely, and definitely not a very likely trade partner in my opinion. Or then a team like the Charlotte Hornets, with many fans wanting them to rehash a deal for Mark Williams and try to make that happen, also not very likely in my opinion. Or then a team like the Brooklyn Nets, another popular trade partner, a team they recently made a trade with for Dorian Finney-Smith, and a team that has a center that might be a good fit for their team with Nick Claxton. But apart from those three, is there a different team that's maybe not being mentioned enough and could be a very good trade partner for them? And not only that, but a team that might benefit from a trade with the Lakers too. Not only a one-sided affair here, but actually a mutually beneficial trade between both of them, an often forgotten factor by many Laker fans and a very important step along the way in a trade process. Well, in my opinion, that team might be the Orlando Magic. A team that's in desperate need of three-point shooting, a team that wants a younger player for their timeline and to fit their timeline, a team they've made a trade with relatively recently, that being back in 2022 to acquire the draft rights to Max Christie, and then simply a team that might want what they have to offer through a trade. So we'll talk about why they would be a good trade partner and a team they definitely should think about trading with during the offseason. And to begin, I think it's important to talk about why the Magic would want to trade with them and why they would be interested in what the Lakers have to offer. And to point to that, I think we gotta talk about their three-point shooting, or rather lack thereof. During the regular season, the Magic were by far the worst three-point shooting team in the entire league, only shooting 31.8% from beyond the arc, last by about 2 percentage points, and that's quite a bit, and then making the fewest three-point shots per game, also translating to the postseason where they only shot 28.3% from 3, actually scratched that 26.3%, only knocking down 8.2 3-point shots per game. Only talking about 5 games here, but definitely a weakness to their team and something they have been trying to address. I mean, pointing to their past 2 NBA drafts now, they definitely have been trying to improve their three-point shooting. Going back to 2023 here, they took Jett Howard in the first round, a guy that was purely known for being a three-point shooter, known for being a high-volume, difficult shot-making three-point shooter in college, shooting roughly 37% on a high volume, and that's simply why they took him. But unfortunately for them, and at least not yet, it's not worked out for them. So once again in 2024 last year, they took another three-point shooter, that being Tristan da Silva, a 39% career college three-point shooter, a 4-year college player that looked to be a very good and reliable three-point shooting option, a guy that could likely play off of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner off the catch and shoot, but he didn't quite work out for them in his rookie year. Definitely not as bad compared to Jett Howard, but only shot 33.5% from beyond the arc, while being a middling offensive player and a decent, albeit unspectacular defender. So will they try and go that route again, trying to address their three-point shooting through the draft and maybe taking another guy that doesn't work out for them? Or will they instead pivot and try to make a trade for a three-point shooter? Well, in my opinion, I definitely think they'll think about it. I mean, it's not worked out for them in the past 2 years now, and they desperately do need more three-point shooting. So pointing to a team like the Lakers here, they have plenty of that to offer, offering a guy like Dalton Knecht, for example. Yes, I definitely don't want to give him up for nothing, but the Magic are a team that might value him heavily through a trade, so maybe dangling him in a trade offer might be worth it. I mean, we're talking about a rookie that shot roughly 37% from 3 last season, even better when he was in their starting lineup, averaging roughly 17 points per game on 38% three-point shooting in 17 games played in the starting lineup, showing that he can be a great guy to play off other star players, definitely can be a difficult shot-making guy, and a guy that can simply be a catch-and-shoot guy if you want to. Or even apart from Dalton Knecht, pointing to Rui Hachimura for example, I mean the guy led the Lakers in three-point percentage last season, shooting 41.3%, even at a high volume after Luka Doncic came, and that points to that he could play off of guys like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, is a reliable three-point shooting option, is improving his volume shooting, and would also fit their timeline with him only being 27. Or then last but not least, could mention Austin Reeves here. Yes, the price would be higher for him, but he definitely could offer what they want. Not only with the three-point shooting, but then with the point guard ability, the ball handling ability, and the self-creation ability too. Something they really don't have in a backcourt player at the moment, at least not the combination with all three. So between the three of Dalton Knecht, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves, I think the Magic would definitely value what the Lakers have to offer through a trade. And don't take it from me, take it from a guy like Sam Vecini of The Athletic. He said, quote unquote, "There is a lot of synergy for the Orlando Magic and the LA Lakers to line up on a deal this summer. Likely talking about what I just referred to for why they would want to make a trade with the Lakers." So with that in mind here, talking about the actual trades and the trade targets that the Lakers might want from their team, I think there's actually quite a bit to talk about here. No, we're not going to point to guys like Franz Wagner or Paolo Banchero. They're off the list and definitely wouldn't be attainable through a trade, likely not even on the trade block for anything. And also probably not talking about a guy like Jalen Suggs, unfortunately. I think he'd be a great fit for them, but also not a guy that they're probably looking to trade for, unless the Lakers would trade Austin Reeves and probably even more for him. So not very likely for him either. But after those three, I definitely do think it's fair game here with their team. Everyone else could be available for the right price, and a few of them could be really good fits for a team like the LA Lakers. So we'll talk about them one by one, going through the list by salary and talking about the highest paid players to then their lowest paid players. And well, beginning with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, former Laker Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, didn't really impress during his first season with the Orlando Magic. I mean, they brought him in to try and fix their three-point shooting problem, and rather than doing that, he kind of contributed to it. Not terrible, and shooting roughly 34% from 3, definitely not up to par with what he did back in Denver or with the LA Lakers, and therefore they might think about trading him or exploring a trade for him that might get an upgrade, especially in regard to three-point shooting. And well, for the Lakers here, I think it wouldn't be a bad fit. I mean, after all, they are looking for a 3-and-D wing, a better point of attack defender, and a guy that would be a proven fit with LeBron and or Luka Doncic, and I think KCP does have plenty to point to with that. Whether you're talking about the three-point shooting, whether you're talking about the point of attack defense, and then directly what he's done with LeBron James in the court. I mean, I know some fans don't like him from that one shot he missed back in 2021 in the NBA playoffs, but apart from that, he definitely was a pretty good fit for their team, whether you like to admit it or not. I mean, during his time with their team, and specifically during the LeBron years, the guy did average roughly 11 points per game, and then shot 37.5% from 3. Definitely pretty good on defense to their team. Even, I can't believe it, but did finish 11th in Defensive Player of the Year voting back in 2021. Yeah, that kind of shocked me too, but pointing to him being a good defender, is a very reliable defender, and definitely a pretty good 3-and-D option. However, when talking about a trade for him, I don't love it that much, at least not for him directly. With the Magic paying him a pretty large contract, that means trading for him would have to include a guy like Rui Hachimura or Austin Reeves to likely get him, or then trading two of their valuable expiring contracts to a trade like Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber. I'm not sure I'd love to do that and probably wouldn't look to make a direct trade for KCP, but I might think about including him in a trade with a different player, which we'll get to in a bit here. After KCP though, then we got Jonathan Isaac, and definitely an intriguing option on defense. I mean, probably could have been a Defensive Player of the Year candidate back in the past if he could have stayed healthy, but that's unfortunately kind of been the tail of his career up until this point. Yes, he did play 71 games last season, and that's quite a bit for him, but throughout his NBA career, only on average has played about 45 games per year, only about half of the NBA season, and you simply can't rely on him to stay healthy. And no, he's not even old at this point, not even 28, so maybe he could get it right, maybe he could become a bit more durable and therefore a bit more reliable, but I'm not sure I'd be willing to bank on that happening. And then combine that with the up and down 3-point shooting, only shot 25.8% last season, then with the offensive struggles and not really being a go-to shot creator, I'm not sure I'd be looking to make a trade for him either. I mean, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it if he would come at a cheap price, maybe something like Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber with Shake Milton and then only a first round pick swap. Maybe I'd think about it, but still not my favorite option through a trade. Again, with the health, with the up and down 3-point shooting, with him not being much an offensive contributor, I'm not sure I'd really want to make a trade for him and give up that much through a trade. But once again, if you combine him with a different player through a trade, then I might be a bit more interested. After him though, then we got Cole Anthony, and simply put, I don't think there's really a spot for him on their team. They don't really have a need for a backcourt player like Cole Anthony, a shorter combo guard that's neither a great defender or a particularly great 3-point shooter. definitely is a spark plug off the bench and a very good shot creator, but a very up and down one and really not a player they need in my opinion. So kind of skipping over Cole Anthony, on to Mo Wagner, and while he is a former Laker, a player they drafted and a pretty good floor spacing big, is currently working his way back from a torn ACL, and therefore I'm not looking to trade for him, not looking to trade for a unhealthy center, a guy that might not make it back until the middle of the season, and a guy they really can't rely on. So moving on from him, then talking about Wendell Carter Jr. is a currently healthy center, but is a guy that's also dealt with plenty of injury history too. Last season playing 68 games, and believe it or not that's a career high for him, only averaging about 50 games per season, so kind of like Jonathan Isaac, there is an injury risk with him, but definitely having more upside here too. Everything in regard to defensive ability, is a decent rim protector, also a fairly switchable defender, did at one time offer 3-point shooting with it, had a down year this past year, only shooting a paltry 23.4% on 2.3 attempts per game, but definitely has the ability to get better, not only has shown it, but then is only 26 years old, so would fit their timeline, also would fit the timeline of Luka Doncic, so maybe I would think about a trade for him, if the price would be right for him. And well, that kind of price for me would be not much more than Dalton Knecht, something like Maxi Kleber and Dalton Knecht for Wendell Carter Jr., maybe a second round draft pick at the absolute most here with them, but again, with the injury history, with the up and down 3-point shooting, with the decent but not spectacular defensive ability, I'm not sure I'd be willing to give up a ton for Wendell Carter, even though I do like him. And I really don't think they would take it. I think they'd want more here in return for Wendell Carter. You know, I think they accept the fact that he's a bit injury prone, but even then they'd probably want a little bit more, even though I think they would value Dalton Knecht and the 3-point shooting he would offer. I mean, who knows, maybe they would take it, but I kind of doubt it. So with that in mind here, then down the line moving on to their backup center, who I think maybe should be their starting center or maybe a starter for a different team, that being Goga Bitadze. A guy that I made an entire video about, and if you want to check that out then here's a link for it. But why I think he'd be a good fit for their team and potentially better than Wendell Carter Jr. is number one, the fact that he's more durable, much more healthy, is arguably a better rim protector than Wendell Carter Jr. I don't even think that's an argument, I think that's kind of a fact. Maybe not as switchable on defense, but definitely a better rim protector, is a better enforcer around the rim, is arguably a better finisher around the rim, a better lob threat than Wendell Carter, and a guy that I think would be a better fit for a team like the Lakers. And not only that, but his price might be a little bit lower too. And if we're talking about making a trade for him and the absolute most I would give up for him, then the centerpiece would be Dalton Knecht. Maybe something like Dalton Knecht with Shake Milton for Goga Bitadze, and then the rights to the 58th overall draft pick in this year's NBA draft via the Boston Celtics. Not sure they could push for the 46th overall draft pick that the Magic have, but maybe that 58th pick to give them a little bit more value through this trade. Or then, like I referred to before, maybe combining Bitadze with a different player through a trade, maybe KCP for example. We would have to trade Rui Hachimura with Dalton Knecht, then getting KCP with Goga Bitadze, also having to include some additional salary with the trade, a little bit more to make the money work, but that might be a different way to expand the trade and get some more 3&D value out of the trade. Then maybe getting a future first round draft pick swap with it for taking on the KCP contract, yet another option here with it. Or then finally combining Goga Bitadze with a guy like Gary Harris for example, a slightly older but still effective 3&D option, would be a solid player for them off the bench, and to give them more 3&D wing depth, that could be a trade like Dalton Knecht with Maxi Kleber, then maybe getting the rights to a future second round draft pick or something along the lines of that. That would be a different option for them too. And between Goga Bitadze and Wendell Carter Jr., I think they're two pretty good, and especially in the case of Goga Bitadze, options for the Lakers through a trade and maybe worth giving up Dalton Knecht for. Now if we're talking about trading Rui Hachimura and or Austin Reeves, then I'm definitely trying to get a guy like KCP for example, maybe Jalen Suggs if we're talking about Reeves here, but again, talking about guys like Goga Bitadze, Wendell Carter Jr., maybe Jonathan Isaac, maybe KCP, maybe Gary Harris, there are a few options from the Magic that would be intriguing through a trade and might be worth looking into in my opinion. And well, with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Magic as a potential trade partner and what they would have to offer through a trade and why they might look to make a trade with the Lakers? let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.